All right, guys. So Bill Burr was on his podcast, and he talked about what happened with the Texas school shooting. And he had an interesting take that I wanted to share with you. So Mediaite says, Bill Burr calls for psychological testing requirement for new gun purchases in wake of Uvalde shooting. So let's see what he had to say.
Oh, I'm going in. I'm going in. I'm fucking... I'm going to be controversial on this one. I'm going to solve the gun problem in the United States of America right now. Why don't you just do it like a pilot's license? You know what I mean? Like when you get a gun, like when you get like a pilot's license, you know, you're flying Cessnas or whatever. You can't just go fucking fly an American Airlines jet. You got to work your way up. You got to get rated. You know, I don't think if you get like a fucking gun license, I think the first thing you should get, regardless of your fucking age, is you get a little 6-shooter. That's all they give you. Or maybe one of those little Saturday night specials. That's you get a little one-shot thing. That's all the fuck you get.
I mean, look, if we're keeping it real, at the time the Constitution was written, all they had was muskets. It took them like 5 minutes to reload the shit, and it was one shot at a time, and it was wildly inaccurate. You know, like, that's what they had. So that's what they were thinking of. They couldn't conceive of the weapons that we had today. I mean, that is true. That is true. And the other thing is, when you read the Second Amendment, it says, a well-regulated militia necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. A well-regulated militia. So when people say you have an individual right to own a firearm, not true. Not true. Not true. When people say any sort of regulation is unconstitutional by definition, not true. The word regulated is right in the amendment. So, I mean, people don't talk about this, but it's just a plain-faced reading of it. So even using the same judicial philosophy and logic of the right, the conclusions they reach are preposterous. So anyway, Bill's idea is treat it like a pilot's license.
Right? And then, as you work your way up to more and more powerful guns that could potentially do way more fucking damage, you have to pass major psychological evaluation. And if you do, the world is your oyster, and you can have whatever fucking weapon you want. How about that? Does that work out for everybody? I wasn't saying take guns away. I wasn't saying this. I wasn't saying that. I wasn't talking about fucking gender.
I mean, you are sort of talking about taking weapons away if you want the test to be retroactive. So in other words, everybody who already has guns, you guys got to take the test too to make sure it's okay that you have those guns. Then some people would fail it, and you'd have to take their guns away, right? So if he means it retroactively, that does sort of mean you're going to take away some guns. If you don't mean it retroactively and you just mean it here on out, well, I mean, that's more palatable for people and they could accept that more, but there's already more guns than people in the country. And a lot of those people are fucking psychopaths. So
gender-neutral Glocks.
Gender-neutral Glocks.
Just saying, you know, fucking lunatics. Fucking lunatics. At some point, can you not make it easy for a fucking lunatic to oh my God, I don't want to talk about it because it's so fucking overwhelmed. I can't fucking imagine all of those people what they're going through. It's just and it just,
you know, I don't think Washington is going to do much. If they do anything, it might be like a new red flag law, which would be better than nothing, but it's still like 5% of the way that we need to go, right? But in terms of the population, I do think what happened was a tipping point. I do, because there's somebody I know, older guy, NRA member, and he said, you know, I used to think, you know, people should be able to have the semi-automatic weapons, and that's totally fine, and I used to defend that, but now looking at this, I don't think I defend that anymore. And then he also said, similar thing to what Bill Burr's saying, which is like, yeah, I think that there should be like there should be a process, there should be not only a universal background check, but, you know, a psychological test in order for people to have weapons. This guy is a lifelong NRA member. Lifelong. He's in his 80s. And this was the tipping point for him, where he was like, yeah, maybe I was wrong about, they used the term assault weapon. Any, gun owner will tell you that's kind of a made-up term. But, fully automatic weapons are already banned. The question is, should we maybe ban semi-automatic weapons too? And this guy, lifetime NRA member, was saying, I kind of think we should ban those now. And we should have massive testing. So my point is, among the population, this sort of was a tipping point. Because now you see even the assault weapons ban is at 63%. That's the highest I've ever seen it. It hovers around 50. And I've seen it as low as maybe 44, 45, right? So the population's done. Background checks all the way up at 90%. High-capacity magazine ban is 70-something%. Now assault weapons ban is 63. So I think everybody's like, Jesus fucking Christ, we got to do something. But in D.C., again, because the influence of the NRA money where they basically bought the entire Republican Party, they're going to drag their feet and do absolutely nothing, and the Democrats never know how to fight. Even when they're on the right side of an issue, they're useless. So the best we'll get is like some red flag law type shit, which again is better than nothing, but it's just not enough. And I think what Bill Burr is calling for here it would be a more effective policy if you did it retroactively.
I don't know. There's people still, I don't know. And I think the left is fucking stupid because then they start yelling at people on the right. Not saying everybody on the right has a gun. Not saying everybody on the left doesn't like guns. I'm just saying, like, this fucking thing where you just start yelling at the other side.
Yeah, I am a well-known lefty, and I own a gun. So I'm one of the lefty gun owners. So, that's why, maybe you could argue that's why I view my position as kind of a moderate position. I do think I'm kind of in the middle on this. I wouldn't ban guns. I wouldn't confiscate all guns, but keep it real. If we did ban guns and confiscate all the guns, that is how we'd have the fewest shootings. That's a fact. All the countries that have basically banned guns and confiscated guns, they have like next to no shootings. So, I'm a moderate on guns, but I can admit that fact because it's a fact, because that's what the data shows. So, anyway, I don't know why I went on that side tangent.
You just go, hey, what if we do this? What if we, try to weed out the bad apples by doing this? As long as you're not, hey, as long as you're not fucking crazy, we'll give you a fucking bazooka, right? And you can take it outside.
I think he's joking about that because, yeah, even with rigorous testing, there are certain weapons that nobody should have, right? Like, nobody should have fucking tactical nuclear weapons. Nobody should have a bazooka. You could argue, maybe you could have the conversation, if you pass all the tests, you can have a fully automatic weapon, but those are banned in the U.S. Can't have those. That's a way in which nobody says, hey, that violates the Second Amendment. No, nobody believes that, right? So,
your backyard and go fucking shoot at something. I don't give a fuck. Someone would have a problem with that. Oh, that's a way to control people.
It's a way to control people. Yeah, certain things people should have. Oh my God. Look at this ad. Randomly ass all up in our face. And we got, whatever. What are these things here? They're in the shape of women. Is it like some fucking food thing in the shape of women? I don't know. Anyway. Random way to end the segment with a giant squatting ass here for you, but that's Bill Burr's thoughts on the mass shooting and what the law should be. Look, I think it's a good policy. I do. I think having like very rigorous testing, psychological evaluation, he's saying treat it like a pilot's license, so it's there are steps. You can't immediately jump to flying a 747 or whatever the fuck. I think that's fair, man. I think that's way more reasonable than what we currently have. That's for sure. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.